Hey y'all, so today I'm going to talk about like travel assignments and things like that. So if you don't know, I recently completed about a 6 month almost contract in Arizona. So my specialty is infection control, but there's various jobs, various specialties, various assignments. So first step, how do I find an assignment? So you can use several resources. So my personal favorite is Facebook. If you don't have a Facebook, I understand social media not your thing, cool, whatever. But Facebook is a great resource. There are a lot of like Facebook groups that I'm in. Honestly, I can't even remember half of them. But my go-to is called Travel. I believe it's called Travel RN Group or something like that. I'll put it somewhere on the screen, and that's like my go-to. There's a website called Vivian. So Vivian actually is a great resource. So forgive me, I'm looking at two different screens. But Vivian is a great resource for travel jobs. So you go on the website, you can do travel contracts and just honestly type in whatever your specialty is. So just filter it out. You can do it, you can type it in, or you can just like filter it out by this. So let's just go do RN. Let's do rehab really quick. See if there's anything for rehab. We got a lot of matches. So wound care, rehab is all kind of the same. So you have this one in Spokane, Washington, Richmond, Virginia, and you can kind of see the pay packages. The one thing though that I will say about Vivian that I believe is still the case, yeah, you don't see the breakdown of pay as far as it goes from tax to non-tax. So we'll get into that a little bit later. So that's why I like Vivian is cool to kind of just see what's out there and compare like all the jobs in that specialty right now. But I don't like it because now you have to take it a step further and either reach out to the recruiter directly or try to figure out what the pay is another way, and it just is too confusing. So with Facebook, it's like they give you the entire breakdown, everything is there, and all of that. But with Vivian, the good thing is that you can actually message the person directly. So let me see. You can actually apply. Sorry, you can apply directly. So say apply now. You can apply and like you can upload like your resume to Vivian, so it kind of like will already match you with jobs that come up in your area or just overall with your specialty. So I get not emails, but I get texts every single day from my specialty every single day, and it's like, oh my gosh, I can't. So that's the good thing about Vivian. Also, you can just Google jobs like travel. If you have a specific location, travel RN jobs in Gallup, New Mexico, travel RN jobs in Houston, Texas. Whatever, you can do it like that, and you can find some jobs. So I have a job that I saw on Facebook, and yeah, let's go through it. So this job is from a company called Supplemental Healthcare. Disclaimer: I do not in any way, shape, or form endorse any company. I don't have any affiliation with any company. I did not work for Supplemental, but it's just a job I saw, and it just made sense to try this for this example. But I do not put one company over the other. Disclaimer. Okay. So this is a med surge job for RN in Syracuse, New York. The pay is based on 36 hours, and this is the breakdown. So I'm going to go through this with y'all because I want y'all to understand something. So for this is the gross weekly. So if you know anything about gross, goodness, I can't talk. If you know anything about gross, you know that that's before taxes. So you're not getting $2,458. I'll tell you that right now. You're not doing it. It's not happening. All right, definitely in New York. The taxes about to eat you up. You hear me? So next, we're gonna break it down. So we have our $29 per hour base that's taxed. So when I was telling you guys earlier, we'll talk about taxed and untaxed. So with the taxed, it's simply as it says, that is taxed. That's it. So whatever you get from that income, it's gonna be taxed, right? They gotta get their cut. The untaxed portion, if we drop down here to 1414, that's going to be non-tax, which means that's just straight pay. So what you see is what you get. So 1414, you're gonna expect that every single week. That's not gonna deviate because that's just untaxed straight pay. And then you have $43 per hour on the overtime rate. And the length of this contract is actually 16 weeks, and you get paid on a weekly basis. Typically, it's going to be on a Friday. You get paid every Friday. But um, so moving on. So moving on, I want to show you guys how to calculate pay and stuff like that, because before you even accept an assignment, you want to make sure that this particular job is going to pay you enough to live where you're going to be doing that assignment and pay your home fees, because you have to what they call duplicate expenses. So the easiest way is just to keep your place, whether it's your house, your apartment, condo, or if you're renting a room at somebody's house, whatever, just keep that and keep paying your bills as if you're still living there. Easiest way. But there are workarounds, but I am not a tax professional, so I'm not going to give you those examples. But I encourage you to go to a website called traveltax.com if you want to work around that, because there are workarounds. With this particular contract, $29 per hour, and they told us it was a 36-hour contract, which means that's 3 12-hour shifts, which is typical. That's going to give us a tax gross, this is all gross right now, of $1,044. So that's our tax. So just based on us working 3 12-hour shifts on this med surg unit in Syracuse, New York, I'm making at least a little over $1,000. Now, that's the tax. Our untaxed or non-taxed is $1,414, which is our stipend. So that comes from, or that's going to go towards like meals and what they call meals and incidentals, lodging. So our housing, that's what we're going to get. So we're going to get this every week. We're going to get this every week. But this is, keep in mind, this part is taxed. This is untaxed. But our gross is going to make up that $2,458. Now you say, Joya, how can I find out what my net is going to be? Well, I'm going to tell you right now, already you're going to get $1,414. So we can go ahead and add that. So net pay already is going to be $1,414, because once again, it's untaxed. Now we got to figure out how much of this is actually going to be our net. So now what I personally do is I use a website called paycheckcity.com. I'll put it on the screen. And Paycheck City, they have free calculators. So if you go to their website, paycheckcity.com, go to free paycheck calculators and go to hourly. This would be an hourly thing. You can select the state. So our state for this contract is going to be New York, because I want to see how much I'm going to pay on taxes, okay? Because if the taxes is too much and the pay ain't enough, I'm not doing it. All right, get somebody else to take that contract. It won't be me. So pick a state. This is going to be New York. Get this out the way. How to get that out the way? Okay. New York. In New York. And excuse me. Forgive me. My computer is very slow. The amount, I think it was 29. If I'm right. Yeah, 29 an hour. And we working 36. 36. Why are these ads popping up? So 29, 36 hours. We're going to get paid weekly. So remember, that's our gross pay. So we calculated it right because we know how to multiply. But we need to figure out that net. So this is where you can play around with taxes. Me personally, I always just leave this use 2020 W4 checked, and I really don't add anything else unless I want to play around with like what my deductions. So I'm going to leave it like this though. And if you want, you can do that. If you want to exempt yourself from state tax, you go right ahead. I'm going to leave that because you're going to end up on IRS. So I'm just going to leave all of that, and I'm just going to hit calculate. Like I say, you can play around with that, all the deductions and all of that to kind of get it more accurate based on what you want, but I like to leave things as is. So this is what our net around that, if we keep all those things the same, because all of this stuff has to come out because we're working in New York. So now we're going to be, so I'm just going to round it up to say 830. I'm going to say 830 to keep it easy. 13 cents ain't going to make a break us, hopefully. So now we got 830. Okay. We add that up. Great, because remember, this is gross. So this is going to be our net. So 830-ish, roundabout. That means we're going to net forgive all of this. Okay, I know it might be a little confusing. We're gonna net whatever this number was. 2244. 2244. We're gonna net about $2,000 and about 244. Okay, now we're not done yet, because now, okay, so if you times that by 4, you'll get your monthly, you do the math. But based off of this, for kicks and giggles, this times it by 4. So we know based on monthly, we're gonna make about that much, 8,976. Okay, 8,976. Monthly. Okay, so that's what we're gonna make a month. Okay, keep in mind you still gotta duplicate expenses, so you gotta pay for stuff back home and in New York. Me personally, but we're not done. So if we say, hey, okay, I'm still thinking about this contract, we need to figure out how much housing gonna cost before we accept this contract. So we done did the math, right? We got our number. That's how much we're gonna make a week. And that's how much we're gonna make roughly about per month. So we go Syracuse, New York. I'm gonna use a website called Furnished Finder. You can use this website. Also, personally, I like Facebook. Once again, I found my house that I rented in Arizona on Facebook. So I'll see if I can find some groups and I'll post them on the screen. But you can use Furnished Finder. I've used Furnished Finder before. I actually found my place that I lived in for 3 years in South Carolina that I was actually like permanent at my job on Furnished Finder. And it was actually a property management company. I found them on here and everything was furnished. So anyways, so actually like when you want to move in, so I can't remember when this contract started, but let's just say somewhere around the 22nd of this month, and we're there. I don't know why this is like this. I can't tell you. I don't know. Oh, okay. I don't know. And we can set a monthly budget if you want. I just want to see personally what prices are right now. So if without setting a budget, this is kind of what we're looking at. Now, what I love about Furnished Finder is, and I look at that 20,000 coming out, be for real. What I love about Furnished Finder is that they have all types of lodging options. So you can have a room in a house, a private house. You can have the property all to yourself. You can rent, all of that. So property type, it'll say entire place. It'll say private room, hotel. Let's just go entire place, because we don't want to share. We don't want to be renting no room. But if that's okay with you, you do you. That's your, like Tabitha Brown say, because that's your business. That's your business. So this is kind of what we're looking at for the entire house, apartment. We got this 1-bedroom apartment, 1,800. Got these houses in the 2,000 range. All of these. So you can kind of see, at minimum, you're going to be probably paying 1,800, maybe 1,400, 16. It just depends on what you want to live, how you feel about the owner, all of that. You can communicate through this app, or this website's app too, I think. But you communicate with the owner directly, ask them questions. You can do everything if you want through this app or website. But say you want to rent a private room instead. Let's just go private room, right? Let's see how much a room in a house. A room in a house, 1,600. Still for a room in a house is crazy. 1,000. That's about the going rate. About 1,000. 950, 750. Okay. So let's just say we say 1,000 flat. Let's just say we pick a room in a house for 1,000, and we have chosen our place to live. Now we're gonna subtract that 1,000 from this, but we still have to think about our bills back home. We still got to think about food. We still got to think about transportation. How are we going to get from where we live on the assignment to the hospital or doctor's office or wherever you're working? How much is that going to cost? Like, you see, I kind of have to do the math and see. So me personally, I wouldn't take this assignment unless I was like desperate or unless I'm really okay with living like real modest. I'm talking about like trying to find 750 per month room. Like I'm okay living like that. All right, okay, maybe. But me personally, I would look for a higher paying contract. That's my for this particular job, because New York is going to kill you in taxes, as you can see from Paycheck City. All of these taxes, all these taxes, and or what you could do if you're okay with working. Some people don't mind working. Ask for overtime, because now you get overtime. This is going to be your overtime rate as opposed to your $29 per hour. So now that we talked about your travel assignment, finding an agency, understanding pay, taxes, housing, all of that, let's talk about some extra costs that could be associated with you taking a travel assignment. First off, if you're doing a cross country, or even, cross country typically, car shipping. Me personally, I ship my car because I live in the great state of Florida, and I was taking an assignment in Arizona. So y'all, that's far. Okay, we east. This is far. So I use a company called Edge. I believe it's called Edge Transportation, and this company actually brokers. They're like a brokerage for car shipping companies. So Edge doesn't ship cars, but they partner with car shippers. If that makes sense. They're brokerage, and it's actually owned by a Black nurse. So I was like, anytime I get to support a Black-owned business for something that I already need service for, I'm gonna do it each and every time. And I'm trying to look for her information, but so it's owned by a Black nurse, and she's awesome. She's great. I literally reached out to her like a week before, and she got me where I need to be within that week to get my car shipped off. So the company, they'll find you like different vendors that are able to take your car based on your time frame, where you need to go, all of that. They'll give you options. They'll tell you, hey, this is the price. And with that, you can either pay the full amount right then and there. I think you can pay that with a credit card. If you don't pay the full amount with a credit card right then and there, you basically pay a deposit. You can pay that with a credit card, and then you pay the rest like in cash or Zelle or something like that. So me personally, I paid the deposit, which I think was like $150. I think she gave me a discount because I'm a nurse, so I think they do discounts. Like I think she gave me like $50 off. So I did the deposit, which I think was like $150, and then the rest in cash. So my total, I think, was a little over $1,000. So the rest I paid in cash. When I mean cash, I mean I use Zelle. So the guy was like, listen, I'm not leaving here without my funds. He didn't say that, but yeah. He was like, we got to verify the funds. So he was literally like, there, I'm not giving you your key until I make sure this in that account. So it was at like 6-ish in the morning, 6:30 in the morning in Arizona. And I sent it through Zelle. And so he had to call whoever, his manager or whoever it was, because he didn't have access to the account. So he had to call them to make sure that it went through Zelle. And of course it did. But that's kind of how it works. So you can either pay it in full, or you can, when you first like purchase the car shipping or sign the agreement, or you can do the deposit and then pay the rest later. Okay, but it has to be like you can't use a card later. You have to use cash, Zelle, Venmo, all of that. So I'll put her information on the screen. I'll also link it in the description box. So like extra costs to think about, depending on where you're going, you might have to get a different color scrubs, different things, just stuff like that you might have to think of. Packing, that can be a lot. So for me, I was cross country. So what I did was I basically took what I needed to get me through like a week, and any valuables. So my iPad, my, stuff like that. I took that with, I took it with me with the flight. I packed it with me rather, like when I flew, because I obviously shipped my car and I flew. But so all of that came with me. I took like, scrubs. I took, like a few clothes, stuff like that. I took like a few suitcases with me. But anything that I didn't need, like winter clothes or anything that I just knew I wasn't going to wear very, very, very soon, I just put it in my trunk. You know what I mean? But it wasn't anything out in the open in my car, and it wasn't anything valuable. So God forbid something happen, all you're going to get is a pair of jeans. Like, it's nothing crazy. You know what I mean? But obviously, I didn't even use or wear like 75% of the stuff I bought up there. So pack light. Like, honestly, you can always buy stuff when you get there. Don't overpack like I did and didn't even use half the stuff. Like I brought my blender with me, stuff like that, because it's very, very small. You get clear after you do all your fingerprinting and all of that, because some people might have to do fingerprinting. You might have to do drug. You probably definitely have to do drug screen. You're probably going to have to do a TB test, make sure it's recent. You might have to get a quantiferin, or they might do the skin test. They might be okay either way. What else? Flu shot, depending on the season. You might get a flu shot. Some might have to get vaccines. You might have to get titers, because maybe your vaccines, you're not sure if you have immunity or not. All of that stuff, but your recruiter will tell you for sure what you need on the employee health side of stuff. But the first day, they also will tell you what to expect, like where to go, who to meet with, who's your contact, blah, blah, blah. So you get those instructions, typically email and probably a phone call. Prepare for the unexpected. So when you get there, you may be like, oh, I'm working on the med-surg unit. I signed a contract for med-surg. And they like, hey, yeah, about that. Okay, we need you in on PCU. We need you in whatever unit, cardiovascular. Like you might have to switch. Now, technically they breached their contract, so you could leave and you'd be fine, like legally. And there are people that do that. There are people like, hey, nah, I'm not doing this. And it's all about comfortability. You kind of know, like I think like floating certain units, okay, you might be able to swing it. But if somebody say, hey, I'm a adult med surg nurse and they float me to pick you, nah. Pick you, if you don't know, sorry, it's the pediatric ICU. I gotta remember everybody's not medical on here. So it's like, nah, you know what I mean? But if it makes sense, you might want to thug it out, see what happens. Maybe it's not the schedule. So maybe it's the floor that you wanted and that's what you signed on for. But when you get there, they're like, hey, you want to work every weekend. And you're like, huh? You might not like that. The schedule might have said you work 3 12-hour shifts, but now they got you working 4 because you're doing overtime because it's mandatory. You know what I mean? Stuff like that. So you just kind of got to know you and just be okay with the unexpected, because it's bound to not be what you thought it was, just to be honest with you. Renewing. So when you want to renew a contract, I would advise you to ask for a increase in pay for sure. That's one thing that I didn't do. And then by the time I was like, hey, I'm moving on, I'm going back home, that's when they came and was like, hey, we'll give you this. And I'm like, yeah, I'm. Do you see them palm trees? You can't see them, but they back there. They outside. Like I'm living the life. Okay, a beach is up the street. I'm home. Oh my God. So ask for an increase every time you renew. I renewed several times, but I also didn't keep renewing for 13 weeks. Sometimes it was just a month. Sometimes it was 10 weeks, just depending on what I felt like I could do without, agreeing to something and not being able to fulfill it. So if you can't do another 13 weeks, just be honest and say, hey, I can give y'all 8. If they say, yeah, cool, we take that, or they say, nah, we can't take that. Either way, you know what you could do. And technically you're there to help them because they're in need of somebody's assistance. So look at it from that perspective. I think I've covered pretty much everything I could think of. Maybe I'm forgetting some stuff, but if you have questions, let me know. The company I went with, I don't mind saying this now because it's all public knowledge, is called Tribal Health. Me personally, my experience was great. Other people may be a little different. So understand, I think that's with any agency. I'm just be honest. You're going to find somebody say, oh, this agency was amazing. You're going to find somebody say, oh, nah, I would never. So everybody is different. Your experience is going to be different. My recruiter, if you want her information, I'm not going to put it out here publicly, but if you want it, send me a DM on Instagram. I probably won't see it for a while, but just send it and I'll get it to you eventually. Or you can just honestly just go on the website and see what jobs they have available. That's one thing I do love about Tribal is all their jobs are there, but they don't post the pay, unfortunately, on their website. But all the jobs, and it's not just nursing. They have physical therapy, all of that. So I should have said this in the beginning. It's not just about nurses and travel assignments, because you can be a tech, you can be a doctor, you can be anything. Pretty much they all, for the most part, work the same way. I can't really speak too much to the physician side because I'm not too sure, but I know more like the techs and the nurses, and ancillary staff, it's all pretty much the same. You get a hourly wage, which is your tax, and you get a untaxed, which is your stipend. And it kind of works the same way. So everything you went through, you would kind of do the same thing to kind of evaluate if that contract is for you, and or if you say, hey, I really want to do this Syracuse job, but I need more money. You can go to the agency and say, hey, it's my resume. I feel like I'm overqualified and I need X amount of dollars to make this work for me. They either go say, yeah, we'll do it, or they're gonna say, no, thank you, we can't do that. Either way, you got to be okay. One thing my AVID teacher always told me is that the worst they can say is no. So I use that mindset throughout everything I do in life. And I'm telling you, it's gotten me thousands of dollars just by asking. So I implore you to use that mindset in every aspect of your life, because literally the worst they can say is no. I'm going to leave it here. If y'all have any questions, let me know. Put it in the comments. As always, stay grateful, stay faithful, stay consistent.